Well, if you're going to start, might as well start with a bang. With a bold move in scheduling, our drivers face off immediately against Talladega Superspeedway. The longest, fastest, and highest banked oval in NASCAR, it takes a special set of skills to get to victory lane here. Will the same faces as last season be featured at the top? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round one of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, we've seen the trucks race here a few times recently with a variety of leagues, but I'd be hard-pressed to say they have the depth of talent that PRL does.
Well, every driver in the field is hoping that holds true, Joe. Famous for its 3 and 4 wide racing, Talladega Superspeedway is a formidable 2.66 mile or 4.28 kilometer oval. With 33 degrees of banking in the very long corners, even these Gander Outdoor Series trucks can take this behemoth wide open, nose to tail, side by side, which produces a different kind of racing than we see anywhere else in the world aside from Daytona. Throw out all your normal oval strats and start thinking about bump drafting, teamwork, momentum management, and drag coefficients, as your path to victory will be split between skill and luck. Hang on at the back too long and you won't have a chance to challenge for the win, but race up front and get involved in the big one, and with the competition we've had in the last few seasons, you can kiss your championship hopes goodbye. What strategies will these truckers choose, or will the surprise of the new tire model version 7 catch them all out? We'll find out shortly, Joe.
Well, hopefully they don't catch them out too much, and hopefully we get some nice green flag racing. But one thing that we are proud to talk about is that we've got a new sponsor on this series. That's right, the Diecast Kings. If you shop at Diecast Kings, it's your home for the best selection of NHRA and NASCAR diecast cars at diecastkings.com. So you can check them out at your leisure, as I know I grew up collecting quite a few diecasts myself growing up. Let's take a look at the championship from last season before things ended, starting with the Drivers' Championship. Bradley Hawley took away the victory, with Williams finishing about 48 points behind, so it was a pretty wide gap between them when all was said and done. Chatley as well fell back to third, 74 behind Bradley Hawley, and a long ways behind second himself. You finally get a little bit of closeness there between third and fourth, Chatley and Hartman, and then even closer between Hartman and Haynes, third, fourth, and fifth, very hotly contested all the way down to the final round at Myrtle Beach. Let's take a look at the team's championship as well. Adam, hopefully that was a little bit closer.
Yeah, definitely. The Whataback back row racing guys, they definitely ran away with it, but it wasn't quite as far away as you'd think. With Whataback, the other guys only 52 points behind. They were within reach as soon as round 8, so they were very close. 24/7 Motorsports only 75 points back as well. They did their best for sure, but with Whataback Ramrod and Whataback Formula One rounding out your top 5 there.
Now, that's enough about last season. Let's look at this season, because we've got a race today, and, well, here's your race details. We are in round 1, as we mentioned. Now, they have 50 laps, or 60 minutes to complete 50 laps here in this race. They always limit these races to 60 minutes, and they have a fixed setup on the trucks rather. They do have one green-white checkered, so if they get a caution towards the end, we get one chance at overtime. Otherwise, if we get another caution, then it is over from there. 24 incident limit keeps them from banging each other a little bit too much and keeps everybody in check. There's also a few other new rules that we'll go over as this broadcast goes on, but we're waiting for the qualifying to start as well. Let's hope that's our big one right there, as a number of drivers seeming to have some issues there coming across the start-finish line. We talked a lot about the points licenses. That was the big deal last season, Adam, and if we get time, we'll try and go over that. Before that, let's talk about the biggest change in the championship this season, and that is the introduction of the chase.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. This is a very interesting chase format. Season 4 is going to have a 10-race knockout champ with 3 rounds of 3 races and a final race between the 4 drivers to win it all. Now, granted, this is season 1, so in order to qualify for that championship, you must have raced 20 races in the first 3 seasons of the year. After that, things get very exciting.
We'll definitely watch out for that. And we've seen a lot of practice with drivers trying to get trucks linked up and working together out there. Of course, cautions could affect things greatly. It's not just about being able to work together out on track. You have to read the conditions well and hope that things work out in your favor in that sense. They have some bonus points that they are working towards. Once we get to the qualifying, they get 2 bonus points for pole. And they also have 2 for the most laps led. They get 1 for leading a lap and 1 for fastest lap. If you have less than 3 incidents, that'll be an impressive feat around here, then you get a bonus point as well. Just about, there we go, right there, actually. Checkered flag coming out for the warm-up, so qualifying getting started. And they do have 2 laps. This is always a big talking point about Talladega and really the super speedways in general, about their qualifying, Adam. It's all about that second lap.
Yeah, second lap is definitely the way that you have to qualify for sure. So you want to make sure to stay at the top side when you go out on your first couple laps for qualifying. And if you are managed to stay at the high side and gain a bunch of momentum early on, then that means that you can sling down to the bottom and hug that double yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack and get a fast time. But at the same time, Joe, qualifying at the top of the grid is not always what you want to do here at Talladega, because sometimes racing up front can get you involved in early wrecks, and that definitely takes you out of contention for later, especially considering the fact that they don't have a spare truck here.
You can see we've got Clement out there getting his speed up. We're not going to see our first laps in for a little while, as it does take a bit to try and get around, not just for your warm-up lap, but then you have to complete that first flying lap in general. As Trevor in that number 111, riding that high side, building that momentum. Let's see if he stays up high on the first time lap as well. I would expect so, since Trevor is a pretty experienced driver with his great run this past year in the majors.
Yeah, Trevor's doing a great job. He's just hanging out that high side. He's going to take it up there the whole time. And take a look at him just right in that rim. He's getting a lot closer than we see a lot of other drivers. So he's doing a good job up there, hanging out that high side, showing off his prowess in this truck.
All the way down the back stretch, and then he starts his timed lap. I think he might be the first driver to actually start a timed lap here. We'll have to double check on that. The 111 now entering into turn 3, still hugging the wall as close as he dares. And indeed, he will be the first driver to set a timed lap, which we'll find out now. And again, this is not the one that we're as worried about, but it'll give us something of an indication of things. So he gets up to about 175 miles an hour through the tri-oval and across the line, which is after the tri-oval, after the pit exit, and starting his timed lap immediately heads down low.
And while we're watching his qualifying here, I want to talk to you just a little bit more about qualifying for that championship in season 4. You have to be a season champion to qualify, or you have to win a race during seasons 1, 2, and 3. So if you are able to do all of that, then you will definitely be qualified to race. But that being said, if we don't have enough race winners by the end of season 3 to fill out it's a kind of a flexible field for the championship, then that means it goes down to points count back. So you have to make sure to not only race consistent, but also win races if you want to make it into that final championship.
Right now, Clement is going to see what he can put on the board on his good lap, his second lap, 55.5 for the warm-up. And his timed one is going to be a 54.853. That's going to put him up to second place.
Looking at Barry Peel now, who looks like he's slotted into 4th place with his first time lap, and it looks like he might just be doing practice laps now because he's a little bit offline going around that corner. So yeah, taking a look at Tristan Callahan, who got back in second as well.
Rachel Hunt's not looking too bad either. Her first lap has got her in 5th for the moment. And remember, she won this race, and I believe it was either the Cup Series or here in the Truck Series. I need to check which one it was, but
I believe it was in the Cup Series, Joe.
Yeah, so you might have if she stays up there in 5th, maybe she's something of a Dale Jr. here in the PRL Series. Could be a bit of a specialist here at Talladega. Burnett goes to 12th position as more drivers put times in. Brendan Chatley, far down for him. He is 20th. Although we haven't talked yet about some drivers intentionally try to put themselves at the back here on the super speedways.
Yeah, definitely. If you hang out at the back, it gives you an opportunity to kind of just watch things unfold, avoid early wrecks, and maybe set up some better pit strategy for you and your teammates. One of the things we haven't talked about yet either is how teamwork can be really effective around here. The more you have teammates to run with, the better you're going to do because you're going to be able to control your fate a little bit more since drafting is so important around Talladega.
About 20 seconds left. You've got to be close to finishing your timed lap, and you certainly can't be waiting in the pits. So anybody that you do see waiting in the pits right now will not be able to qualify. There's still a number of them that are certainly trying to start their way at the back as we watch Nick Pruitt uh, basically coast his way to the line here. Not sure if he's finished both of his laps. That's going to be it. So let's go through our starting order for today. Christopher Burnham, a new name in this series, is going to be starting on the pole. Paul Johnson will be P2 with row 2, having Mike Burnett to the inside. Tristan Callahan will be starting in 4th. A lot of new names, really, honestly, up here. J.R. Smith returns, and he'll be starting in 5th with Rachel Hunt, as we mentioned, with a win in the Cup cars here in this series, starting 6th position. Back behind them on the inside, it is Nick Roby in 7th and Dan McLaren in 8th. Nick Pruitt starts 9th. Trevor Clement will be rounding out the top 10.
Rob Haynes is going to start off 11 with alongside him is Jeff Harrison. And we have Barry Peel in that Baker's Dozen position with Brendan Chatley on his outside in 14th. On row 8 is Jared Mogard with Matthew Aubrey in 16th position. We have Blaine Adams starting in 17th with Brian Hotham in 18th. Jason Hounshell and Brett Adams round out your starting 20.
Last 2 drivers to set a qualifying time are John LaBaff in 21st and Craig Holden in 22nd. Everybody from here on back did not set a time, including last season's champion, Bradley Hawley. But he's going to be 23rd, so he is way up into the mid-pack, unfortunately. I don't think that strategy worked out. Daniel Knight starts 24th with Dominic Bijin in the 25th position. Then it's Colton Lane starting 26th, followed by Brandon Walter in 27th. The outside of that row has Adam Zemke there in 28th. Charles Sumner starts 29th, and William Hartman will be 30th.
After a tough final round, Thomas Sink starting in 31st is going to look to improve his luck this season, with Paul Williams starting in 32nd, also looking to improve his luck ahead of his teammate Jose Tellez. Then we have Adam Young in the 34th position and Mike Richter starting off in 35th. Nicholas Hunter is going to start off 36th with Austin Hunter behind him in 37th, and then Barron Hilton and Adam Shane are going to start off your 39 truck field.
See, starting their way around on the pace lap. This is a very large field, and it's the season opener with new faces at a track known for some chaos. Do you think any of the drivers are nervous out there, Adam, knowing these facts are surrounding them?
I would definitely be nervous, and I would say that if I'm going to go for a championship run this season, I am going to just try and survive this race. I'm not going to try and win it. I'm just going to try and make it across the finish line. I think we're going to see quite a bit of attrition. I would expect 10 plus trucks to be DNFs tonight. So if you're going to try and go for a championship run, you cannot afford to have tonight be a DNF. You need that buffer in order to make it to the end of the season strong on points. So just trying to make it to across the finish line with your truck in one piece would be my goal if you're going for a championship run.
Right now, the man to beat for that championship run is Bradley Hawley, as he has just been on a tear in both Oval Series here in the Precision Racing League. And I have a feeling that if Burnham can back up this qualifying pace, that he'll have a fight on his hands if he tries to take it to Bradley Hawley. Hartman couldn't do it. Williams couldn't do it. Could maybe some of the newcomers try and do something out here? So they're already coming out of turn 4. Then the Mustang pace car will peel off, give control over to the number 38 of Burnham. Then hopefully we'll go racing for a full 50 laps here around Talladega. We'll be expecting a pit stop during this, as drivers are not able to make it fully on fuel on any of the races this season. Mustang pace car is now in pit lane. Burnham has to wait just a little bit as he takes it through the tri-oval. This is not like Daytona, where they can go just about immediately. He holds them up. He holds them up. He doesn't want to get a jump, remember. He wants to try and bring everybody with them. Still waiting for that green flag to fall, and it flies now. Burnham gets on the loud pedal as Johnson follows him on the outside. It's a pretty even start for most behind them. No jump for our leader, so that's looking good, but the top row already falling back. We got a truck ducking down in the form of Callahan.
And we're going to see a lot of drivers deciding to take their trucks to the back of this grid, but you can't all do it. So some people are going to have to race there up front. It looks like we have a breakaway of about 5 trucks up front, going all the way back to Nick Pruitt in 8th place. And we have quite a few trucks that are deciding to drop back now. We have 3 wide, a couple of rows back, but I think those trucks are going to the back.
Looks like McLaren is deciding it's better to be towards the back, and he's also taking Harrison with him. They've already slotted all the way down into 21st. They're not concerned about riding up in the front for now, which, speaking of which, Burnham is our leader, but he's got J.R. Smith with quite a bit of a run in the number 3. And in fact, that 3 is going to lead the first lap.
Yeah, J.R. Smith doing a good job getting pushed out front by a couple of other trucks. Rachel Hunt's back there in the 3rd position back on the top row. But look at the bottom row, how they gain speed through the corners. We're going to see this give and take all night as that top row gets a better launch off the corner and can pick up more speed, whereas the bottom row will love to hang out down there on the low side and really gain speed through the center of the corners.
Yeah, that shorter line helping them go a little bit quicker, but again, the high shot off the banking. Let's see if the 3 can do it yet again. He's been given some help. That is, wow, that was a late dive, and that's actually going to send them 3 wide.
Yeah, that was the 39 of Mike Burnett coming up off the bottom line and almost getting into J.R. Smith, pushing him into a 3 wide scenario. That was very unusual for the second lap of the race.
Sure why we saw a move like that. See someone else going up way high. A couple drivers going way high, maybe trying to head to the back. That's Chatley I see up there, as well as the 911 of John LaBaff. Looks like he's losing pace down the backstretch, so indeed, he's going to drop back. He's not happy with what he's seeing up in front of him. Meanwhile, the 3 of Smith still being pushed by Paul Johnson, trying to get both of them up to the front, but as great as they were on that first lap, don't seem to quite have it here in the most recent few.
I think that was a reality check for everyone, Joe, just how dangerous this is. We also have a very unusual wild card, the new tire model version 7 here, that these truckers are going to be driving on, and it's going to be difficult for them to be able to manage this. It's going to be a new experience for them to see the trucks going from cold tires through the heat cycle in a way that they haven't experienced before. So this being Talladega, it's not as much of an issue, but you're still going to feel quite different with the truck underneath you.
Looking through the field to see when we've got our first break, and really it looks like Adam Zemke down in 23rd is the first point at which he's got nobody behind him. That goes down to Colton Lane in 24th. I expect Lane to rise up higher than that later in the race. He typically is a very quick driver in just about every track we go to. You see the 21 just ahead of him and circulating around.
Yeah, it looks like the front... I've been watching these trucks to see how they behave on these new tires, and with the engine change that they had before last season, making differences to how they behave in the draft. And it looks like, even as a single truck, if you get in behind this big pack, you can actually pull up quite quickly to the trucks in front. And that actually can be quite an effective way to just... You can't actually hang out in the back and claw your way back forward with the way that these trucks are set up now.
There's a couple that you saw way up on the high side starting to 3rd lane. That was LaBaff once again, except he was trying to go forward. It looks like Houndshell, Jason Houndshell, was trying to join him for a moment. There you see them on screen right now. The 911 with the Texas flag on the rear deck lid. And then behind him, the green machine is Jason Houndshell.
Yeah, so we are 2 wide all the way back to Jeff Harrison in 24th place. And then at that point, it goes single file pretty much all the way back in the field. So these truck drivers, about half the field is playing it really safe right now, while the other half is kind of driving 2x2 up for the lead.
These are the drivers that are eagerly competitive at the start, looking to try to get themselves to the front. Only a lap 6 out of 50, though, so still very early days. Barely 10% through. But J.R. Smith and Christopher Burnham have been the two that have been up at the front all race long so far. The number 3 managed to get it in there, and he's not given it away. He's been continued to be helped by Paul Johnson in the 70 behind him. This time, he's going to lead a lap, and he's going to duck down immediately as he gets the clear.
Yeah, Paul was giving him quite a hefty shove during that front stretch. And so Paul Johnson, I think, oh my goodness, now they're going to drift up high. That was contact between Mike Burnett and Paul Johnson, and that's actually going to catch J.R. Smith out. Let's see whether the 77 decides to go around him. No, he's going to get in line. Look at this. Paul Johnson is now pushing Mike Burnett to the lead.
Yeah, they gave the 38 of Burnham the lead just for a split second, but the 39 of Burnett now up at the front, and that high line, it is moving, but nobody seems to want to stay with it.
Well, no one wants to stay with Paul Johnson. He's pushing all the way through the corners, and that's kind of a no-no. It's just one of those unspoken rules that you talk about when you get into oval racing. You do not want to push through the corners, especially this early on in the race. It upsets the truck ahead of you, and that can get them to spin, especially if you make contact with one of their quarter panels. And with the tires being new the way they are, these drivers are having a really difficult time trying to figure out how the trucks are going to behave. Here's a push from Rachel Hunt.
Number 16 is going to try and get into the mix. I wonder if we could see her maybe take up to the lead. Not enough of a shove to get them past the 39 of Burnett for the lead. And as they come through the corner again, that longer line around the outside starts to drop back. Behind Hunt, that is Trevor Clement, who's worked his way up to 6 after starting in 10th position.
Yeah, and as you were on board with Rachel Hunt there, we could see just how she played out her strategy of pushing Paul Johnson ahead of her. She doesn't stay on his rear bumper through the corner. She actually backs off and leaves about probably a quarter of a car's length between the two of them, and actually pulls out a line to get a little bit of air as well. So Rachel Hunt dropping to the bottom now, but she's playing a much safer strategy for pushing than Paul was.
And as soon as she drops down, Smith pulls up to the top, and he wants to work together with the 70 once again. Things get a little dicey back there now as the 70 and the 111 get awful close to Smith, almost pushing him unstable once they got to turn 3. Those behind them backed off slightly, and now everybody scatters a little bit to get a little air on that radiator.
Yeah, J.R. Smith working with the 70 Paul Johnson to get up to the lead, but you got to be careful. I mean, Paul is being super aggressive, and so it's one of those things that it's a give and take. It's something you got to be careful of when you go around here pushing that hard. But if J.R. wants the lead, then Paul Smith's the way to get you there right now.
Talked about the break earlier. Right now, I think we have to go all the way back to Adam Young, who's got a big gap back to Mike Richter, and that's down in 36 and 37. That's the very, very tail of the field. Everybody else still holding close to one another.
And look at those riding shotgun guys in line. This is teamwork right here. Those two are working hard at, well, those 4 really are working hard at just kind of figuring out how they're going to drive with one another. It's early on in the race. It's early on in the season. And so this is a good time to practice the teamwork, especially before the pit stop.
Riding on board with Adam now. As you can see just how big this field is, it stretches on for a long, long ways. You can't even really see the very front of it, just barely up there in the distance, a tiny little speck, which right now is actually J.R. Smith. He gets a good shove from Paul Johnson, and once again, just like last time, as soon as he's clear, he jumps down low.
And there was a big checkup in the bottom lane there that actually gave J.R. Smith that opportunity. But now, look at this. Paul Johnson on that high side. That high side's getting a little unstable coming off the corner, and they're having to check up a little bit. And before that, John LaBaff was actually 3 wide with the pack. This front pack is slowing down quite a bit, Joe. There's a lot of instability there at the lead.
We were almost looking at 4 wide for a moment, but Clement saw what was happening and got back in line behind the 70. Behind him, going way up to the high side, that was Brennan Chatley in the 59, who's got a big gap up to Clement right now, so he's got to catch up. He's getting a little bit of help from those behind. Looks like for a moment, Johnson might actually be our leader.
And we actually have a 3 wide. I believe that is Tristan. No, that's not Tristan Callahan. That's Jason
That's
Hounshell, I
Hounshell.
think, going to the
Yeah.
high side. And these trucks seem to be getting really unstable right now and this might have to do with those new tires. We're looking at 3 wide for the lead, possibly. That's not going to happen either. But Hounshell putting it 3 wide just to try and stay out of the trouble, I think.
I was worried about how close the 111 of Clement was getting to the back of the 70. Now we definitely are going 3 wide. We got a truck going up to the high side, trying to figure out who that is. Rob Haynes, I believe.
I would not be surprised to see our first wreck happen within the next 2 laps, Joe. They're getting pretty feisty up there for the lead, and it is way too early for that. It's lap 13 out of 50, and there's no time worries right now without any caution. So this is really dangerous stuff that they're playing with up front.
Wow, and that's Chatley who went up high. That was Mogard, actually, in the double aught that was up high. Meanwhile, we've got the teammates of, I believe that is... that's Smith, and trying to figure out who that is with him on his team. That's Rob Haynes and the number 29 have sort of found each other, except they're side by side instead of nose to tail. We are indeed 3 wide for the lead at the line, but it's going to be led by Johnson this time through.
This is really sketchy stuff for this early on in the race. And if they make this work, I will be very impressed. But none of these drivers have done many laps, especially around super speedways with this new tire model. And so this is very dangerous stuff. Looks like they're going to think better of it and go back to a little bit of 2 wide. Let's see what that top line can check up effectively. No, the 00 going to the high side again. Jared Mogard trying to get up there. And here comes the 73 with help.
I think it was more Mogard was left out to dry. He had no place to go to get down. And so now he's falling backwards, and unfortunately for the driver behind him, which is Dan McLaren, they both have to lose speed and slot back in order so that they can get some speed going. Now we're getting single file up at the front mostly. Johnson, Smith, Roby, and Haynes, your top 4. They were single file. Ooh! Wow!
Yeah, I think a lot of people have backed out of this, Joe. We have a break after the number 14 of Jeff Harrison back to Rachel Hunt of about 0.8 seconds. I think a lot of drivers are saying, nope, this is not happening. I'm not getting involved in an early wreck here, and people are backing off. It is super unstable in that lead pack.
I mean, if it gives you any idea, our multi-time champion Bradley Hawley is still hanging out around 30th. So, yeah, I'd say a number of these drivers do not like the look of what they're seeing up at front and are content to ride at the back, give themselves a chance to check up and stay out of trouble. This group that you see right here, that is the number 3 of J.R. Smith, who is up at the front, and Paul Johnson is to his high side, trying to get the lead back, squeezing him down way low, with Rob Haynes also coming up high to make a 3rd lane once again.
Yep, so we're 3 wide again across the stripe, and these trucks in the back are starting to get real sketchy. They're checking up a lot. We have a huge loss of speed with that lead pack, and that's allowing this second pack to now gain a bunch of time. They're down, Joe, they're down below 180 miles an hour through the corner. That means a huge check.
3 wide for the lead is going to give it to Rob Haynes on the high side momentarily. But they start to come through the corner once again, and it switches back low line. J.R. Smith with that, starting to come to the fore. This is, if we had to give an alignment for this race, I'd say it'd be chaotic neutral. This is just, nobody has any allegiances.
And nobody has any allegiances, and nobody's playing safe either. Paul Johnson has been switching lanes to try and block and make sure that he can get a run. Now we have a new trier on the high side. That, I believe, is Nick Robb.
That's Barry Peel and the number 9. Oh, and the 77 checks up big time. Everybody behind reacts. Rachel Hunt even goes below the yellow line to try and get away from the problems, but no harm, no foul so far.
I would be super uncomfortable in this pack. I mean, I love close racing and I love doing it on super speedways, but this early in the race, I don't think you need to be taking these chances. And that top line now, that 3rd line, really dropping like a rock.
Well, it did in the back, but Clement is going to give it a go here up at the front. He gets a push from Jared Mogard. Those two have raced together frequently, again, in the majors, so they know each other. Could this help out? Wow, big shove, big push up to the front, and Clement is looking at a potential lead now.
Clement is being pushed very, very hard right now through the corner. Then look at how unstable the truck is behind him. This is very, very dangerous stuff. But everyone's doing a good job just trying to hang on to it.
Bogart's going to try and get himself in front of the 3 of J.R. Smith. Can he be clear? And he's got it! Both of them, the pair, down to the bottom line and up to the front. Whoa, with a touch from behind for the number 3. Both of them catch it, but it is getting really dicey now.
Yeah, look at that. That is J.R. Smith, I think, going all the way to the high side. That's a huge checkup for the high line.
It's only so long that this can keep going on. I think we are ready for a wreck here. Something has got to happen because they cannot keep racing like this without somebody making a mistake.
J.R. Smith agrees with you, and he's going to file himself to the back of the pack. He's out. He's saying, nope, that was too close. I'm not doing it. But look at this. Oh, my goodness. That's the 911 of John LaBaffe that almost went around there. He's now up to the top 5 as well. But up front, that is Trevor Clement with Jared Moore. Oh, 71's around. This is the big one already.
It is. It's very early for it. Since everybody behind looks like they were prepared. So many are slowing up, but they're still getting into it. Minor damage for a number of trucks, and it's a traffic jam on the entry to 3. In fact, they're still wrecking.
Yeah, Joe, nobody slowed up for that one, and the whole entire lane is blocked. Everyone's struggling to get going again. This is a huge disaster.
So this started with Nick Pruitt in the 71. He went down low, thought he was clear of Rachel Hunt, and that tipped him back up high. You can see it here from above when he hit the outside wall and then came back down into the line of Barry Peel. From there, you can say goodnight.
Yeah, that was going to be a wreck regardless of what happened. When he committed to that bottom line, he was either going to spin Rachel Hunt up into the top wall or he was going to correct and spin himself. And he chose himself, which was the right call, but it still led to this huge wreck.
And you know who's regretting that move back a little bit, I think, was J.R. Smith. Both he and Rob Haynes got involved in it in a big way. They had no place to go. So 2 of our prominent players there, unfortunately, taking lots of damage. We're going to watch from the Texas driver's view here.
Yeah, J.R. Smith just watching the wreck, occur ahead of him, and he really has nowhere to go here. He's going to hold the brake and get clobbered from behind by his teammate, but even with holding the brake, I don't think he was going to be able to stop in time, Joe.
Yeah, not likely. There were trucks that came to a complete halt there on the entry to turn 3, trying to stay out of that wreck, as now we've got cars coming to a halt on pit lane.
Joe, I may be wrong about this, but I think only 14 trucks made it out of that without damage.
Wow.
Our championship leader from last year, our championship winner, Bradley Hawley, has significant front end damage as well. Only 14 trucks made it in before the damage trucks started rolling in.
That is going to change the face of this race big time. That'll make the pack smaller, that's for sure. But I'm assuming with all that damage on all those other trucks, they're going to catch up to them and lap them pretty quickly if we stay green, and that could cause problems. With all the pit stops now done, and then Mogard back out first ahead of Callahan, ahead of Johnson. It's going to take us to a quick break, and we'll come back after this for the latter half of round 1 here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. We are getting ready to restart here soon after our first caution was unfortunately a big one. It happened up towards the front on the entry into turn 3, and many trucks were involved. In fact, of our 39 starters, from our count, only 19 are without damage. That's just how many got involved in that. Let's see if they can give us another long run, though. It's almost 20 laps here on this first one. Another 20-lap run would just about take us to the finish here of this 50-lap event. We could see a full race here for our first round, which is a good sign for the rest of the season if it goes that way. But things can change, and the complexion of the races have changed last season, so we could see a repeat of that as well. The Mustang pace car is coming out of turn 4 now, and is going to be Jared Mogard with control of the field. Tristan Callahan next to him, Paul Johnson and Rachel Hunt in the second row, and Roby and Clement in the third row once we get to green. How many are going to be dropping back quickly just because they don't have the top end? How many are going to be streaming away? Can they work together? They're waiting for the green flag now as they come through the tri-oval. Mogard trundling along at about 60 miles an hour. Green flag comes out. And they start to speed away now.
It's going to be interesting to see what kind of strategies we have. Some of these trucks, even up at the front, have some damage. Tristan Callahan has some right wing damage on his truck, and quite a few trucks actually took a little bit of damage off of that. So they actually have the lap truck of Rob Haynes to deal with right off the bat here on the back stretch, who's right ahead of Jared and Paul, who are pushing hard for the lead.
Haynes tries to pull it all the way up to the high side to keep out of their way. Mogard getting a nice little shove from Johnson on the low line. The top line ducking down to stay below our lap truck. Again, I say don't discount the number 16 of Rachel Hunt, sitting second in line on that high line. It's that pink and white machine. I think she's got a shot at this win.
Yeah, and as we saw in that shot right there, this field is already fragmented significantly due to the damage. A lot of trucks really dealing with significant damage right now. But this lead pack is still not letting up. They're still too wide. Rachel Hunt being forced to the high side. She's forced out of line. Is she going to be able to drop down? No, she's been blocked up on that high side. She's going to have to drop to the back of the pack,
which isn't too big right now, and it's going to be joined by one more. Mike Richter was starting to fall back, but now he is back with the group because nobody's working together, and up to the high side, and Mogard looks like he might be overtaken by the 70 of Johnson, who manages to get his nose in, which means that Johnson instead now hooks up with Roby, and up on the high side of Roby, it is Callahan working with Mogard.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why everyone's duking it out as this hard right now as we see Mogard duck down again. It's just like the risk is too high at this stage. You really can't win it right now. You can only win it 25 laps from now.
Well, all this is doing is slowing them up, and that means Daniel Knight, Adam Shane, and Blaine Adams, are catching them. They're the next 3 in line. They might bring a few more with them. They could have had a breakaway here, Adam, and yet it feels like it's almost squandered.
Yeah, they're not really thinking long term right now when they're duking it out for this lead, but I think some of the trucks, third or second or third, well, at least definitely third line are thinking long term, because they really haven't made any moves to the lead, and when they get shuffled out, they don't try and fight too hard for their spot. They just kind of let the game play. Oh my goodness, Tristan Callahan trying to make it work, but now he's going to be split 3 wide.
It looked like he wanted to go down low, and he nearly tipped himself into a spin on Mogard. Instead, he gets split around either side, as Rachel Hunt will certainly feel no pity for him, as she's going to try to go the long way around, but now she is hung out to dry. Once again, for the second time in about 3 laps, the 911 stays with her to try and push on a third line, but instead it's the middle one that continues to move forward as Clement gets Johnson up to the front.
And Rachel Hunt hung out completely again because John LeBaff drops down into that top line, but Paul Johnson deciding to take that high line and try and make it work, but it's not going to work. Here comes Jared Mogard on the bottom side with Nick Robbie trying to make that bottom line work. This is crazy racing up front.
They're coming up on more lap traffic. Jeff Harrison is Wow, he's going very, very slow for this. 146 miles an hour. Compare that to the 190 that Mogard did heading into turn 1. So they are going to pass him extremely quickly and side to side banging. That's exactly what they don't need right now.
It's not just Jeff Harrison they're going to come up on. There's a couple of other trucks as well, and all of these are lappers. Take a look at this. Instability on the low line creates an opportunity for Tristan Callahan. He goes with the high side, but Rachel does not come with him, and that allows Paul Johnson to drop down in front of Jared Mogard and Trevor Clement. Now stuck on the high side with no help.
Looks like most of the front pack gets through cleanly, so no issues with that lapped truck. Mogard giving a huge shove to the 70 as they come through the tri-oval. But he's so wobbly. Don't connect with him. Please don't connect with him right here, Jared. And he stays out of the back. But we do have a caution anyways. Looks like Jeff Harrison. That was the one they just lapped.
That was a single car incident. Jeff Harrison on the coming through the tri-oval, it looks like.
Yeah, he was trying to come to pit lane, but he was on that high line as he was letting everybody lap him. So he couldn't get it woed up in time, and he spun himself.
That's an interesting decision. I think it would have been better for him to go around one more time around the track instead of try and pull in at the last second in front of a group of cars and a group of trucks. But unfortunately, he tried to correct, and it just brings that left rear around and it spun him into the wall.
This, though, is pretty good news for those who got damaged. This is more of a chance for them to try and get the trucks in pristine condition. So they're catching up to the pace car still up at the front. So the order when they waved the flag was Johnson, Mogard, Clement, Roby, Callahan, LeBaff for your top 6. Let's see, they pitted around lap 20 last time. They shouldn't need to come in this time. I'm assuming tire wear is not really a concern.
Yeah, but track position isn't really either quite yet. I would say that starting with the next run, I would say that track position starts to become more of an issue. So we're probably going to go green around lap 34, I would guess. And so at that point, track position does start to become an issue, but 15 laps is plenty of time to make up the time, especially with the amount of damaged trucks we have on track. So for these leaders, I would say coming in for tires probably doesn't lose you anything.
We're getting our expert behind the scenes is telling us tires, so we'll go with him as they come up to the pit entry here. Does look like Johnson's heading towards pit lane as he's staying down there low. Does he come in? Nope. No, he stays out.
So does the rest
Fakes.
of the field. Everybody's staying out. Interesting.
Hunter's in. Baron Hilton is going to pit. That's just 2 so far. Here we go. We got a few more in the back. We'll sway to Les. And the Diecast Kings number 24. Also sponsoring that 24/7 team. They've got themselves a brand new sponsor tied into this series. So they're very, very proud of that.
I don't know about this, Joe. I mean, like, you really don't have much to lose at this stage in the game if you're some of the leaders. I mean, you might lose a little bit of track position, but it's not really going to affect you that much right now.
Getting a little information from Jeff Harrison apologizing for causing the caution. I suspect a lot of these drivers getting repairs back here. In fact, many of them have been stationary for quite a while, much longer than a regular stop, so that certainly seems to be the case. So who are movers and shakers so far? Mogard's actually not doing too bad. He started 15th, and he is up to 2nd, and that is with qualifying, by the way. Same thing with John LeBaff, 21st to 6th for him with a qualifying time. Then you get into the drivers, of course, that did not put a time in, that kind of sandbagged and got out of the way in order to get themselves positions in case of problems. Mike Richter from 35th to 8th for him is no mean feat. Daniel Knight from 24th to 10th. Adam Shane, 39th to 11th. So it worked out for a few, not necessarily for others.
And also William Hartman, 30th to 12th. He was champion. He was a very close championship contender 2 seasons ago. and he's made his way up to the 12th position right now, and he's been kind of just hanging out at the back of these packs waiting for things to happen. He was able to avoid significant damage from that first wreck, and so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can get up to the lead and try and do something with it here.
Don't forget and don't count out William Hartman and the number 67. He's sitting in 12th. If he could get up with the front pack, William Hartman usually has some of the best speed of anybody here in this series. So I wouldn't put it past him to also be a contender once it starts to get to the final 15, 10 laps in this race. Again, we always seem to see, Adam, that every time, even if they start in the back, even if they languish in the back, it seems, these fast drivers, the cream of the crop, always seem to find their way up to the front when it matters.
Yeah, they definitely do. We saw that last season with Bradley Hawley a couple times at our super speedway tracks, and we've seen it multiple times in the past before that as well. They always seem to be able to find their way to the front, even at super speedways where it seems like chance can really kind of take a hold.
It can certainly ruin your day in a flash, but got a little ways to go here before we go back to green, so we're going to take another quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back, hopefully with the final green flag laps. We'll see if we can keep it green all the way to the checkers, or if we get a GWC here at the end. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. We're on our second caution of the day, but we're getting ready to restart with Paul Johnson having control of the field. It'll be Mogard, Clement, Roby, Callahan, LaBeouf, and Hunt on your first 3 rows. And it's been relatively clean racing. In fact, the last caution was a bit of an odd one, just a truck that wanted to pit and unfortunately picked an odd time as he was being lapped and spun it on his own. So we could have actually gone green for quite a ways longer the way things were going. Let's see if they can continue that all the way to the checkered flag here as the Mustang pace car is now in pit lane, and Jared Mogard follows to the outside of the number 70. But they're already actually starting to pick up a little bit of pace compared to before. They haven't fully taken off yet. They're waiting for that green flag to go. Green flag is out. Everybody slowly works their way up to speed as they climb past 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour down into turn 1. Adam, it has been very aggressive racing since the drop of the green. What are your thoughts on this final stint here?
My thoughts are it is just about time to go. I'd say probably give it 5 to 7 laps before it's really time to go. But if we keep seeing aggressive driving up front, we're going to see this pack really start to press together. But it's actually sprung up quite a bit since the start of the green flag. We have a breakaway of about 10 trucks up front. And they're starting to make hay now with Paul Johnson and Trevor Clement leading.
Mogard falling back as well on that high line. Clement and Callahan. Oh, but Callahan's going to duck out of the low line, which he was there before. He's going to head up high. Is he going to get help from Mogard? Jared looked like he wasn't sure if he wanted to hook up or not. Now, finally, he starts to give him a little bit of help from behind, and that moves Callahan up towards the front next to the 70.
Trevor Clement pushing very hard on the 70 through the corner here, almost getting him a little bit loose here, but Paul Johnson actually doing a great job of just hanging on to it right now. But Tristan Callahan's got a decent run with the push from Jared Mogard. We'll see whether or not they can maintain it coming into 1 and 2, or 3 and 4 rather.
Currently a 9-truck breakaway up at the front. That's Richter, Adams, Hunt, Roby, LaBeouf, Mogard, Clement, and Callahan, as well as Johnson. After that, you get a little bit of a break, but I think they might be able to catch up because they're not too far behind them. The way they've been racing recently, nobody really has been trying to work together to pull away from that second group. Up to the front, Callahan going to lead that lap, and he ducks down, in fact, almost chops off Johnson with that move.
Yeah, we have still quite a few drivers who are looking on. I think they're still waiting for that moment to go. Wow, take a look at this. Paul Johnson's going to look to the outside again as Tristan Callahan has chopped him off, and so he's going to try and get by on that outside lane.
Mogard rocks up to the rear spoiler of Johnson. It runs out of straightaway before he can really give him a serious shove. Behind them in the number 31, Roby's been kind of quiet, if I'm honest. He's sort of the dark horse here, Adam. He hasn't been making wild moves that we've been witnessing, but he has been hanging around the front.
Yeah, Nick Roby and Rachel Hunt currently line astern in that top side. They're not really pushing for that lead pack craziness. They're just kind of trying to hang out here and make sure that they're around for when it counts. And those two, we're going to see what they can do now.
15 laps to go now. The top line starting to gain a following. Looks like John LaBeouf heading up there behind Mogard. Still Clement and Callahan are doing what they can with that bottom line, even though there's only 2 of them. They might get a third joining them. That's Blaine Adams there in the blue and white number 33 that you can see. Nope. LaBeouf says he likes the bottom line better now.
And while they're duking it out, we have Daniel Knight and Adam Shane who have caught themselves up to the back of this pack a little bit. And then William Hartman is towing the rest of the rear pack up to the front pack as well. So while they duke it out up front, these back pack people, they're starting to get going. And we have the 7 of Paul Williams going around the outside, being pushed by the 24 of Josue Tellez. We've seen those two work together before, Joe.
And Knight and Shane, you mentioned them coming up. Those two are teammates. And I suspect the riding shotgun guys, they know how to work together in these situations. They could wind up schooling the front. But in the meantime, actually, they've got company back there. There you can see on the high side, that is the 7 and the 24 of both Tellez and Williams. Williams, another one that tended to challenge Bradley Holly, and they are screaming right now, absolutely blowing by those riding shotgun trucks.
Yep, they gathered a ton of speed and they're carrying it all the way to the front. Let's see what they do here. Let's see whether they decide to make it 3 wide with their momentum or decide to join that high side for a little bit of party up top.
Yeah, I think the way that we haven't really seen anybody working well together up at the front, that anybody back there who's linked up with a buddy and is doing well are going to find it relatively easy to make inroads. In fact, the 7, once again, look at that. Williams, he is just gobbling them up, even on the highest side, but we might actually go 4 wide here because we got a car stuck in the middle. That's a 77 of Callahan. It stays 3 wide. Tense moments are over, but ooh, is it getting scary.
Yeah, that was pretty sketchy. That was Paul Johnson and Jared Mogart going around the outside of the 77 of Callahan. That was an impressive move, but that really slowed up the progress of Paul Williams and Josue Tellez on that high side with the DraftKings trucks. Those guys have now lots of ton of speed. Oh my goodness, lots of movement up there.
Mogart checked up for some reason. I think he got a little bit loose, and that caused an avoidance maneuver from Clement as well as LeBaff. That got into the way and interrupt the momentum of the number 7. The 7's not going to take that sitting down, though. He's got it going once again. Williams, though, doesn't have his friend pushing him down the backstretch.
Yeah, he's a little bit far away. Here comes Rachel Hunt looking for some opportunity in that middle. It looks like the 7 and the 24 are going to drop down to that bottom side, and Rachel Hunt's going to join them. But man, those lead trucks are once again getting quite unstable.
Watch from Rachel's perspective, looking up forward. She's at the tail of this big pack up at the front. Up on the high side, Clement's got a nice little run, and he's got some help from LeBaff behind them. It's the 24/7 teammates of Williams and Tellez. Great run there from Clement this time, but he isn't fully clear by the time they get to the corner, so he starts to drop back once more.
John LeBaff on the high side, second car back, is extremely unstable. His truck is not looking very happy. He's actually going to make a 3 wide here, and that's caused a huge checkup in that top lane. And here comes William Hartman, the 67th. Look at him on the outside. He's going to take a train with him into that 3 wide move.
Wow. And this is going to increase the size of this front pack by a big margin. Oh my goodness. He is bringing along at least 9 or 10 trucks, and he's not quitting yet. Hartman is still gaining positions. He's almost caught LeBaff as we got a lot of dicing up at the front group. 3 wide, there's no discernible lanes. This is where we could see a caution come out again.
Yeah, this is just the sheer will of these truck drivers to keep everything together. There's the 77 of Callahan. Take a look at this. The 24, we're looking at Tellez as he goes around Callahan, who's been trapped in the middle, and that's the 7 of Tellez who's behind him. This is a big problem for him as well. But look at this. William Hartman, 4th truck on that top lane, challenging now for the lead.
All aboard because the train is a-coming.
Oh, no, the 911 has gotten to the 77. They're going around.
Big contact. Callahan flies through the air. Looks like Williams gets caught up in it.
William Hartman got damage as well.
LeBaff involved. Sink. Houndshell, I see. William Hartman. Walter. Charles Sumner. Could have been much bigger, but still quite a few fell victim. This all started with Callahan. And who else?
John LeBaff, the 911 truck. Ooh, Callahan went for a ride.
He really did. Yeah, just slight contact on entry to the corner. Looks like he was hit by Lane, Williams, Walter.
Yeah, it looks like John LeBaff was following Rachel Hunt down.
If you want a good view, we've got quite a one from, is that Mike Richter? No, it's the one behind him. It's the 110 of Craig Holden goes underneath Callahan in this wreck.
Yeah, we're going to look on board here at Craig. Craig is going to watch this thing unfold ahead of him. He sees the spin and holds on the brakes. There goes Callahan over top, and then he gets collected from behind. What a wreck.
Oh, the fact that he was able to avoid a truck flying overhead and then still got caught up in the wreck is a bit sad, but also kind of ironic in a way. So that takes out a lot more clean trucks. And that changes the complexion of things. You can see plenty are coming in to try and get repairs done. So here's your order after that. Johnson still leads. Tellez is in second. Roby third. Rachel Hunt is in fourth. Trevor Clement is in fifth. And Adam Shane is now in sixth. One of those riding shotgun cars. But I think, did Daniel Knight get caught up? Yeah, Daniel Knight got caught up in it. So he doesn't have his teammate with him anymore.
Yeah, this really shook up the field in a significant way with that. It really took out both of the low lines there and left that high line pretty clean. And believe it or not, Bradley Hall, even after his front end damage, is all the way up to 11th now. So this is significant points implications if Bradley Holly is going to be as strong as he has been in the previous seasons with PRL.
That is how you tell a champion apart. I mean, even if he falls back on this because so many trucks have fallen out, he's still going to get some points, and that could wind up helping him greatly in this championship if he wants to repeat. You talked about how many you anticipated being out tonight. Well, here we go. Here's a quick list of those who have DNF'd. Brendan Chatley's gone, Barry Peel, Nick Pruitt, Dan McLaren, Jeff Harrison is out. We've got a number of drivers who've come back in but are many, many laps down. That's Hunter, Aubrey, and Smith. And then we've got those who are still getting repairs. I think many involved in that last wreck. Walter, Holden, Callahan. Yeah, this is definitely drivers from that wreck. Hilton is in there. Paul Williams taking repairs. William Hartman, Charles Sumner, Daniel Knight, I mentioned involved, and Blaine Adams as well.
This really shook up the race. It's now any trucker's race now at the front. This could be a good opportunity for Paul Johnson, Josue Tellez, Rachel Hunt, Nick Roby. We haven't seen much of him in this series, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can make something of this great opportunity. Adam Shane, Trevor Clement, Dominic Pagine. I mean, these are all truckers who've had good opportunities in the past. They've been top 10 trucks in the past in multiple races, and so it's great to see them have an opportunity here. And we'll see whether or not they can hold off a damaged Bradley Holly.
Gonna be 7 to go at the line. I don't believe we're gonna get the lights out on the pace car this time, though. Yeah, they're gonna stay on, it looks like. We got another lap, 2 laps rather, to go. So that'll give us a restart with 5 to go, most likely, if my math is correct.
I believe so, yes. I believe it will be 5 to go, and we'll have about 6 minutes left on the clock, so they'll definitely be able to get the laps in. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be by laps tonight, unless we get another caution.
And if we do get that caution, it will be a green-white checkers. But from what I understand and how we've figured it out from this point, we might wind up being wrong anyways, is that would be a single lap green-white checker. So we will not get another caution in that case. But another caution will certainly change the complexion of things greatly. You can see the field, some of them still trying to catch up. Right now, we've got, let's see, how many are still on the lead lap even? Are we down to 20, or are some of those still getting repairs and going to come back out?
I believe some of those who are getting repairs are going to come back out. But yeah, it's quite significant to see just how many trucks are suffering right now.
Yeah, it is looking like 20. I don't think those will be able to return in time unless they're taking just a little bit of repairs and hustle their way back to the tail end of the field. Daniel Knight is returning, though. Depending on how fast he is, he could still help his teammate if he could find his way to him. So that's really good news for the ride-in shotgun team. They have unfortunately lost Adam Young, so it is no longer a trio. In fact, looks like we've got Adam Young waiting for us to tell us a little bit about what happened to him. If I recall, Adam, commiserations on leaving the race early. I believe you were one of the ones that were part of the first wreck, were you not?
Yeah. I'm still in it. I'm still in ninth, but I don't feel like I'm going to stay here. There's a bunch of guys with little less damage than what I've got behind me, but yeah, I got caught up in that first wreck. Almost got through it, and just got tagged there right at the end when I was seeing clear blue sky. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's been kind of a good race so far, at least from my seat. I know some of the guys, Adam and Daniel, have been up front. They've been kind of commenting on how things have been, and I think Adam Shane here he's got a decent shot at this thing.
It certainly looks like it. Well, this is a good sign for you if we haven't been paying attention close enough that we didn't realize you were still in it. So take that as the reverse of the GSRC curse, I guess.
You're right. I mean, well, at the very least, I mean, if I had a truck that could go a little bit faster, I could have a shot. But I'm not going to win this race. I'm just going to be hoping to still come out with the top 15 here.
Well, since they've double filed now, we're going to let you get to it. Best of luck to the Riding Shotgun team.
Thanks, John.
That was Adam Young wishing the wrong commentator thank you as we get ready to come back to green. And it is going to be Paul Johnson and Josue Tellez now up at the front. And based on what we saw from Tellez last time, I think that that number 24 is going to be very hard to hold back.
Yeah, Josue has been doing really good, but he's lost his teammate a little bit. So Paul Johnson is actually kind of the truck I've been looking at just because he's had a ton of speed tonight. Even though he's been taking risky moves, he's not wrecked out yet, and he's still up there battling for those front four positions. So, I mean, he's kind of right now the truck to beat.
And we keep talking about some of these big players who have just shown themselves to be forces to be reckoned with. Roby, one of them. Clement has been up towards the front. Hunt has been hanging around. And we heard even his teammate, Adam Young, thinks that Adam Shane could potentially maybe get into this thing. He's got the truck for it. The Mustang pace car now heading in. Are we going to get a run all the way to the checkered flag? It'll be 5 laps to go. And we've given Paul Johnson control of the field as they slowly work their way around the tri-oval. The green flag comes out. Ooh, that was a jump from the 70, though. He's getting hung out to dry just a little bit. He's going to go up to the high line where they're a little bit closer in hopes that they don't catch him.
Yeah, Joe, we're going to see a lot of chaos, especially in the back of the pack, as drivers who have damaged trucks try to get out of the way and try to figure out where they're going to go. We're watching this lead pack right now, but take a look at how spread out the field is behind them. This is going to be a big challenge for a lot of truckers to try and figure out who's fast and who's not.
Les easily to the front. Hunt follows to second. Shane into third. Staying up at the high side. Here's a name we haven't talked about at all, but it tends to be pretty fast. Dominic Begin in the 66, race winner in this series last season. Could he maybe steal a win despite really not being a factor all race long? As they come around to the tri-oval, now down to 4 laps to go. Mogard getting back into it behind the 111 of Trevor Clement. They're going to try and make that third line. Nope, Mogard gets down to the second line and leaves the 111 out to dry.
It is absolutely go time, Joe. It's time to get going. And look at this, Dominic Magin has taken that to heart. He's going forward, but Rachel Hunt in the second position on the bottom lane, and that's Adam Shane who's leading quite a bit. We actually have a wreck. Oh no, not another one!
And it looks like Richter's going to get involved. Johnson is in there. Shane got it. Brett Adams involved. So all started with Mogard and Johnson making contact. Now, I usually don't like giving blame, but I'll be honest, I really think I put this one on Johnson because he drifted up a lane and that absolutely spun Mogard.
Yeah, this was really weird. A lot of the trucks were getting a little bit loose. Johnson just dives up to the top side. It's a very interesting wreck from him.
Poor Shane. There's got to be some kind of curse on the ride and shotgun team here on GSRC broadcast. It seems like when something starts to go their way, they cannot keep from running into trouble.
Yeah, and they almost made it out of there with it just being a 2-truck wreck, but then we had a couple of other trucks who got into it. Adam Shane looks like he couldn't. It looks like he had some sort of brake issue, couldn't get the truck wound up either, and he just gets clobbered here.
For those curious, it's about 3 minutes left, so even though we will get the green-white checkers, I do believe that we are going to get only a single lap on the restart. There you see the 83 with a hard hit to the outside wall and coming back and slamming it a couple more times. Probably just let go of that wheel and pedals out of disgust. We come back live now. What does this change for the top of the field? Tellez still leading. Bajin is now in second. Hunt is in third. And before that wreck, I was wanting to mention, how about Christopher Burnham? Our pole sitter is back up to the front again in fourth.
Yeah, even with, I think there's a lot of trucks with damage, and these faster trucks don't have anyone to run with aside from damaged trucks. So aside from really the top 3, maybe a couple of guys in the top 10 as well, everyone else has damage. So this is very interesting. As we come down to a green-white checker, which was just confirmed for us, it's going to get very interesting, Joe.
So as we watch them circulate around, we are now to about 20 that are left on the lead lap, which is what we were at before, actually, from what I recall. Still see a number of drivers trying to get repairs. Then some of them have been in there a long time. Brandon Walter has been sitting in his stall for a good 12 minutes now. 13 minutes, actually, it just broke. Paul Williams for 11. So there's a few that are giving that never say die attitude to try and get back into things.
Yeah, and a couple of them are Adam J. Young, who we just talked to, and Bradley Hawley, who actually got into the back of Adam Young during that last caution. Adam had a very interesting ride, and Bradley Hawley just barely missed a couple of trucks during that wreck. So those two guys, even with significant damage, they were actually able to stay with the pack before that caution came out. So don't count either of them out yet.
Paul Johnson and Colton Lane, your two latest retirees. These drivers are, of course, going to see a couple more laps of green. Probably more likely one lap of green, because I'm seeing 40-some seconds left on the clock now.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of our special one lap green white checkers, which makes it, especially out of super speedway, very interesting. So you're going to see a lot of blocking from everybody. And just as a reminder, if we get a yellow before they come back around, that will end the race based upon this particular style of green white checker.
Will it actually throw the caution, though? Because I don't think it will if it's just a single lap run back, will it?
It has in the past.
Okay,
it's confusing.
Well. Apologies, yeah, to the audience watching. The green-white checkers on iRacing is still got a few bugs. So this says final lap, though, is what we're seeing. Not sure if this is accurate. And in fact, checking to see. Yeah, I do see the information that we will see a green-white checkers, so this shouldn't be the final lap then. This might be a case of just our timing and scoring, unfortunately, getting a little confused. Even the drivers are having to get instructions from race control right now. So it's not just us that are having to try and sort things out.
Yeah, so the drivers just got the instruction to race it out for the one lap that's provided, if it is so provided. So looks like race control, iRacing control is gonna shake up the dice and throw it and see what they're gonna give us, and the drivers will have to make do based upon that.
We ride on board one of the ride-in shotgun trucks right now. That is Adam Young, actually, who's now moved up to 7th of all things. So Adam, another one taking advantage of everybody else's misfortune and coming back into things. It's almost a bit like an endurance race here, Adam, that if you're going to have problems, you want to have them early, it seems, here today. Because a lot of those drivers have come back to the fore, and even though they don't have the speed, I guess it's just sheer grit that's keeping them in as a factor.
Well, you know, these trucks are much less aero dependent than the Monster Energy cars. So while they are significantly affected by the draft for sure, it doesn't negatively affect them as much to get damage. And while that as much may be negligible, we've seen quite a few damaged trucks make their way up to the lead, and well, not the lead, but make their way up to the high pack. So Jose Tellez leading right now. He's got a good opportunity to take a win if he could just get a good launch.
Waiting to see if we are getting the checkers here or if we're going to get another restart. And it looks like the lights are out on the pace car, and they are double file, so we are going to get a lap here. This is going to be for all the marbles, and this is only round 1 in the 2020 Season 1 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. With a big thank you once again to our new season sponsor, the Diecast Kings. If you want to check them out, their website is diecastkings.com. You can also find them on Facebook. They deal with NHRA and NASCAR diecasts. The only thing that makes me sad in that, Adam, is that I liked to collect IndyCar diecasts when I was young. But I'll see what I can convince them of.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about some Indy cars that I would like too, so that'd be a great way to open up a new market for them, I think.
Yeah, there we go. All right. We'll have to have some discussions behind the scenes. Meanwhile, discussions being had between spotters and drivers. Here's hoping that it won't be too many drivers taken out by wild moves on a one-lap shootout, because they do want to see the checkered flag. They also have stewards in this series, we should point out, that if you do anything that is way too untowards, that you can get penalties. And we mentioned earlier they have penalty points on a license here specific to this league, and that you can either be sent to with an end-of-the-line penalty at the start of a following race. You can be banished from a race. You can even be banished from the series and told to sit down. So they do try to make sure that they behave out there. So I don't think we'll see anything that is too crazy, but it's sometimes hard to tell what's going on when everybody is out for themselves. The Mustang pace car for the final time is coming on in. What are we going to get? It'll be one green flag lap of racing. Waiting patiently. The number 24 doesn't really want to jump here because they're going to gobble him up. He does get a little bit of a jump. Will Tellez be eaten alive here? Is that enough of one that he has to worry? Bajin is now got a bit of a run. Rachel Hunt down there in third is closing in, but she's starting to be boxed in as the Canadian is up to the high side. She's got nowhere to go. She could potentially try and push the 24 down the back stretch, though, as they come down. And we've got Burnham up on the high side back there. Clement as well in 5th place. These 5 have nobody near them. It is down to these 5 essentially to try and decide the victory as they come up to turn 3, starting to fall back a little bit. Bajin losing pace. The 24 getting a lot of help from Rachel Hunt. Will she hang him out to dry, though? Will she try and slingshot past? She looks to the outside. Tellez to the low side. Does she have the momentum? She's starting to climb. She's up to the front. The 111 is coming up to her outside as well, but I think it's going to be Rachel Hunt with the victory.
What a move for Rachel Hunt and Trevor Clement, almost like they were exactly in sync. The two of them moved to the high side to make it around Dominic. What a move.
The Dale Jr. of the PRL, I'm calling it right now. What a great race from Rachel Hunt to take her second win and the Precision Racing League, both of them at super speedways. Big congratulations here from us, and congratulations to the rest of the podium. In fact, let's go through our results for the race. These are unofficial, as Hunt takes the victory with Trevor Clement finishing second, just behind Bajin climbing to third, rather, and Josue Tellez all the way down to fourth, despite being at the front coming out of turn 4. Christopher Burnham from pole to 5th place, but at least managed to get back in the mix in the final laps. Austin Hunter finishes 6th with Adam Young managing to nab a 7th. Jason Hounshell is 8th with Mike Burnett in 9th and Jared Mogard in 10th.
Brian Hotham is going to come home in 11th place. Bradley Hawley falls to 12th with his damaged truck by the end of that one. Nick Roby is going to be 13th with Rob Haynes in 14th position. Daniel Knight's going to come home in 15th after his damage. Blaine Adams and Thomas Sink, 16 and 17. Then we have John Labath, Mike Richter, and Adam Shane are our top 20.
Adam Zemke was 21st in the last truck on the lead lap. Then you get into those who had trouble. J.R. Smith, 22nd. William Hartman, 23rd. Both of them 2 laps down. Matthew Aubrey, 4 laps down in 24th. Charles Sumner, 5 laps down in 25th. Nick Hunter, 26th position. And Paul Johnson, who we thought potentially could take the win today, was 27th. Brett Adams, 28th. And Baron Hilton, 29th. 30th rounded out by Colton Lane.
Craig Holden is 31st, Paul Williams 32nd. Tristan Callahan comes home 33rd, with Brandon Walter 34th and Brendan Chatley in 35th. Jeff Harrison 36th, 37th is Nick Pruitt. Barry Peel in 38th, and Dan McLaren comes home in the 39th position tonight.
This was an awesome finish. We're waiting to see if we can get one of our podium finishers in here real quick. We're a little late, so we can't stay too long. Unfortunately, because we got another broadcast we've got to head over to here in a moment. Rachel having done some beautiful celebration donuts out there on the front stretch. Usually we get to talk to, looks like we got Bajin in here. So we've got 3rd place Dominic Bajin ready to talk to us. And Dominic, you suddenly found yourself in a good position when it came to those last few laps. You were up with the front group. And then there was that final restart. Tell us what happened from your perspective.
The plan was to start at the back and try to make it when there was a few laps left. But I really thought we had it at the end. Just unfortunately, we had to stop on that. We thought we got green-white checkers, but it didn't go out that way.
And it looked like it was getting a little bit frantic at the end. There were some aggressive moves at the start, but by the end, it was really bringing out the cautions. How do you feel about the driving here in this first round?
To be honest, I didn't know what to look for in this track because it's Dega and stuff happens here. But I think overall it was pretty good until the end when we got a few cautions, and was lucky to have my teammate behind me to push in the end. But I don't know. It wasn't that bad of a first round, but I would have liked to a little more green laps would have been fine.
Apologies. This has got to be a short one. We've got another broadcast to head to here soon. Do you have anybody to thank?
My teammates, Christopher and Mike, new teammate for this year, was really good. And you guys for putting on a broadcast again.
Thank you so much for the kind words. That was Dominic Bajin, 3rd place. Real quick, we've got 2nd place Trevor Clement also ready to talk to us.
Yeah, definitely. Trevor, when that restart happened and you were able to smoke your way all the way right up to behind Rachel Hunt, did you think you had an opportunity to win that one, or were you committed to pushing whoever was in front of you to the win?
No, I knew from where I wasn't going to win, so I committed to just trying to figure out how I could at least get second. And when Rachel made the move, that was it. I was going to push her to the front, and then when I saw that it was good enough to maybe take a shot, I went outside. But I knew that I was just trying to go for second and push whoever looked like they were going to get me there, and Rachel was it.
Yeah, starting 10th today, you probably didn't see many of those wrecks, but the ones you did see, how hard was it to make it through there unscathed?
Yeah, like I used a couple of 9 lives in that, but for the most part, it was pretty clean up front. So it was a good place to be in this.
Well, you had a great race and a fantastic second place. Sorry we have to be a little bit short today, but is there anyone you want to thank before you go?
I just want to say, this was my first race in the league, and I thought they put a great show. I look forward to more races, and I always just want to thank you guys, man. When I saw you guys broadcast this league, I thought, all right, let's do it. I love watching your guys' broadcast, so thanks for what you guys.
All right, that was Trevor Clement, our second place finisher tonight.
Sadly, it looks like we won't get to talk to Rachel Hunt, but we were told that she gives us a big thank you for the broadcast. So a tip of the hat to Rachel for that. But a thank you also goes to our sponsor, of course, Diecast Kings. Give them a look at diecastkings.com. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. If you do, you are in the running for a drawing for a free item from our merchandise store. We've got a link for that below in the description. But make sure and subscribe so that you can get some free swag. The next race for this series is going to be at Iowa. That'll be Wednesday, December 18th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. We got another race coming up right after this. That's the Lionheart Series. And we've also got other races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.